the SimDem Today podcast. I'm your host, Tripod, and today we are joined by none other than Creative. Creative, say hi to the chat.
Hello, chat.
Creative, why not take this time to introduce yourself? Tell everybody what you do.
So I'm currently a senator in the Senate. Um, though the term's almost over, and who knows if I'll win my re-election campaign. Hopefully, I will. Otherwise, I'm just a boomer simdemmer. There's not much to say.
How long have you been in SimDem, by the way?
So I originally joined Simdem, like the server itself,
Mm-hmm.
around 2019. I didn't do anything. I thought the idea was kind of silly, kind of nerdish. So I left. And then in 2020, before the pandemic, I kind of got the itch to do like a mock government because I was really, really into Model UN. And I remembered that SimDem existed and I joined it. And ever since then, I've been active, kind of off and on.
Nice, nice. If you don't mind me asking, how did you learn about SimDem? Like, how, who or what convinced you to
So
join?
Okay, that's so originally I since I was a teenager back in the day, the kind of wild. I used to frequent r/teenagers because every once in a while it would go on the front page.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, I don't remember what was their issue or anything, but there was a rebellion, and the people of the subreddit wanted a democracy. So I won an election in that for some reason, somehow, and I got sent as an ambassador to SimDem because Dova was looking to expand SimDem, and they found r/teenagers rebellion. And yeah,
Wait, r/teenagers became a pole sim?
um, for like maybe a week, since after all, it's teenagers. So it was like a week of the teenagers going in full rebellion. They created another subreddit and everything, and they elected the mods.
That
But after that week, everyone kind of just like got bored and returned to the normal subreddit.
sounds about right. They're teenagers.
Yeah.
So creative. You have a long, distinguished political career here in SimDem. Obviously, you're a senator now. You have plenty of term. You've served plenty of terms as president. You've been on the presidential cabinet. I don't know how many times. What is your take from being this involved in the government? Like, what are your thoughts?
Um. Okay. I'd start with saying that the executive branch is pretty much the coolest branch.
Mm-hmm.
No shade on the other ones, but it's the only one that does actual things. I'm kidding, obviously, but I originally, when I actually became active, I got a job in the Department of Expansion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I got the job. I just kind of got it for some reason, and well, ever since then, I've kind of been a executive cell. I've been in the executive on and off, and I really like it.
Nice, nice. And you were recently president before Muggy's term as president, and I've been told you were president before the Danya video. Would you like to give us a comparison between the two terms? Like how different was being president back in the day as opposed to being president now with all these new people?
Okay. Um, there's things that stayed exactly the same. I'm going to be honest about it, and things that are wildly different. Specifically, uh my cabinet, I almost knew nobody, to be honest. I didn't know anyone really closely.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have any expectations for my cabinet, especially since I wasn't able to choose it because I won through a coalition ticket.
Mm.
And but it went really well. It was a really active cabinet, and I'm really, really grateful to the people that were in that cabinet. Um, as for the and that's pretty much the same. If you have an active cabinet, the job of president is probably one of the easiest. Like it, but it will always be the most stressful job, I'd say.
What do you?
Back then and now, because if you fuck up, if you do something that isn't really popular, people will make you let you know. People will be really vocal about it, and back in the day, people would get really burnt out over it and would stop. You know, they wouldn't run for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
I never won a re-election campaign, specifically. I always tried, always lost my second term.
Mm-hmm.
And this time around, I didn't run for a second term because I was just another boomer president and I wanted to see a newbie be the president.
Nice. And speaking of noob presidents, we've recently had our first New Guard president, Muggy. What are your thoughts on her presidency?
So far, so good. Though, okay, I've shared. How do I say this? Well, I think it's gone honestly really well. She won her re-election campaign. I just don't particularly like the amount of vetoes Muggy has done. But honestly, it's refreshing because since she's new, she isn't like beholden to the old like precedent, how things are done. Like everything can be newish
Mm-hmm.
or like can be done differently from a new perspective, which has gone pretty well, honestly.
Nice, nice. And as for the amount of vetoes she has written down. To be fair, the Senate has passed a lot of bills this term. I think we made it to 69 recently.
Think it's up to 80, I believe,
Up
at this
to
point.
80, and we've only got the chance to vote on like 50 of them.
Yeah, it's that's another thing. Since the Danyo video, we've had such an explosive growth. The the senates are full of freshman senators, which has the I wouldn't say unfortunate, though in this Senate most likely, the unfortunate consequence of all the senators wanting to write as many bills as possible and then sponsor them to get their name in like the history books, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it at least. And that's part of the appeal for on sim democracy for me actually. And what that does is what we're facing right now. We have too many bills. And honestly, most of them should be given their time in the light. Like they should actually be looked at closely. And the senator has like an actual good reason behind them. But there's so many, we can't.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. We senators only get 2 weeks per term, and with like clo- damn near 100 bills, we just don't have the time to look at them and vote on them.
Yeah, it's it's really unfortunate as well because some of these bills, like I honestly see them as passion projects. Like the senator who wrote them was really passionate about it, but then they get maybe like two or three comments from the other senators. Some senators don't end up liking them because they change something. It's a whole thing, but what can you do about it?
Yeah, of course, of course. Before we move on, now is the time to talk about today's sponsor. Nobody bothered to pay me 200 tau, so we're plugging in our Discord server. Yay! On the
Yippee!
On the SimDem Today Discord server, you can check out past episodes of the SimDem Today podcast and subscribe for for subscription tiers starting at wait how much are these subscription tiers? I didn't do my research.
It's your own thing.
I know, right? For the low price of 25 Tau a month, you can get access to episodes of the podcast a day early, which would be the day I'm making this, Saturday, March 15th. And you get access to a special chat where you can chat with all your buddies who also gave me their sweet, sweet money about the SimDem Today podcast. Also, for 50 Tau a month, you could get all that, plus you get a special shout out at the end of every episode. Be sure to check out the SimDem Today Discord server link in the description. Now, back to the interview. There are strong voices of dissent from within Sim democracy saying that the Senate has ruined SimDem with all these laws that they're passing. What what would you like to say about that?
Um, that they're being dramatic, honestly. Uh, I look, I say this as someone who's seen, I don't know, like maybe 50 senates. Although that's probably wrong. Let's say 50 senates. They're just being dramatic. Sometimes, look, it after all, SimDem is what can you call it? Hobby, right? Like we do this because I don't know, we find fun from it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the bills aren't gonna be they're gonna have good intentions, but they aren't gonna be exactly well written.
Mhm.
That can happen to anyone. I've had terrible bills. I've tried to pass in the past some horrible, horrible bills, and nothing came of it because it's really, in the words of former President I made, it's not that deep, honestly. There's some laws, of course, that you gotta be wary of, and that they will probably fuck up certain things from the server.
Mhm.
But no, I honestly don't believe we're at a point where just some rant it was some like laws will like fuck up the server permanently.
Of course, of course. Uh, do you have any advice to senators who are freshman senators who are trying to write bills but they're like extremely horrible
uh,
that may or may not be an attack on myself?
well, I mean, every bill, like I guess even IRL, is necessarily pretty bad. Um, because the consequences that a bill can have are pretty massive. I'd say honestly, just like double check them with other people. If other people don't like your idea, just at that point, what can you do about it? Ask them to at least check it, give it a second or two. Like give it, yeah, just like check it with other people. Um, there isn't really any other way to check if your bill's good or not. I guess you could use AI, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Let's not use AI. That makes you know better than
Yeah.
the terrorist groups we got going on.
Yeah.
Speaking of terrorist groups, I do got a question I've been meaning to ask for a hot minute. Have y'all seen any terrorist groups like Tide or the PUP like before the Danya video? Or is this like a new
Yeah.
thing?
So I personally didn't see it, or well, I was around, wasn't active. Back in the day, the server got raided, used to get raided a lot, and that's part of where like the prestige of the SDBI comes from. And part of the those raids, there was this one group called Legion that was just a neo-Nazi group as far as I know that raided the server, and the SDBI and DOJ dealt with it. Back then we didn't have the same tools that we have now. So each individual member of Legion had to go through trial, and that wasn't really pretty. Uh, yeah, fuck. But it's happened before. That's why I'm not really that worried when it comes to Tide specifically. With Pup, it's a different issue altogether. But Tide so far has looked to me as really elaborate trolls. I'm sure there's more to it as far as I've heard, but I personally don't know. I don't have access to the DOJ much anymore since I became a senator.
Of course, speaking of the DOJ and terrorist groups, you were one of the head people in charge of Operation Kashmir, which, to the viewers who don't know, was the operation to get rid of the Proletarian Unity Party, also known as PUP. What was going through your head during that whole operation? Like, I'm sure it must have been a stressful time for you.
Uh, Stressful is underselling it. I at one point because we had credible threats, and I mean by credible, I mean we had literal evidence, like photo evidence of them actively trying to dox members of SimDem. So at one point, I couldn't really sleep over it. I didn't want my fellow like my community to be attacked like that, especially since doxing and SimDem has historically been a pretty touchy subject. Not in like should we dox people, but more so like important members of the community have been doxed and left forever, never to return. So I was really worried about it. And honestly, after one point, after I was able to ban like over 114 accounts from Pup because they were just planning to brigade us. Uh, the day I did that, I was listening to the Hall of the Mountain King as I banned them.
That
So
is
it felt
fucking
like a movie.
crazy.
Yeah.
I could just imagine
So
people getting banned while listening to.
pretty much. It's funny because I kept checking general chat and people were like, "What the fuck? Why is there so many accounts getting banned?" And I could just hear the music in the background. It was pretty funny, pretty glorious.
you, I enjoyed all of them getting banned, but I'm still salty about the fact that I made gave all of us medals for it, and then Muggy, but didn't put it in the right format. So Muggy made an executive order giving all of y'all medals except for me. Muggy's got it out for me for real.
What a president, Muggy. What a president.
Muggy, you will not be receiving my vote.
Oh yeah, about that. A quick tangent. I don't want to take over the
Nah, you go
interview.
ahead. You go
I
ahead. This is your episode of the podcast.
Buggy wants to run for a third term,
Oh, that
and
is
for a while I've been
not happening.
yeah, for a while I've like told Buggy I'm not voting for you. It's president, historical president presidents don't get a third term, but they
Even
keep pointing out to the fact that Sam at one point got like 3 terms back to back, but like the server was dead. You
I was gonna
can't
say
that's
one that it's Sam, and two there were like what, two voters.
yeah. I think the voter turnout that election was around 4 voters. But I can't be sure honestly.
Oop. And even with all the new people, I made set the precedent at 2 terms max.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I mean they kind of lost the TLC nomination to me, but still, that's president.
Hmm. Oh, fun fact: I made only ran for president for the third term because I did not receive the MPP nomination. Yeah, I made. Now we're talking about that because me being VP, I was supposed to be the successor, and then I lost the NPP nomination. Oh, and it oof. So I was just whining to iMate about that. And then they're like, oh no, I got you, and then runs for president.
The NPP is a funny party as well. Th- for a while, they used to do their Senate primaries like the day the CFC went up, so people would rush for it to put up their CFC and then would have to delete it if they lost the primary, which was really sad.
That's crazy. Oh my god. Speaking of primaries, remember every time the Progressive Bloc did a primary and then iMade would take forever to drop the fucking CFC post on the Reddit?
I I'm since I was the opposing candidate those few times, each time I was praying, please let IMAID forget, please let IMAID forget.
Oh my god. I think
Uh,
election number two, we were T minus 30 minutes, and I had already asked Sind if I could put it in for them.
no way. It was that desperate?
That
Damn.
desperate. I liked being the second highest role in a server full of 1,000 people.
No, I mean, technically, the Discord supervisor is higher.
Now they're higher, which moves me on to
Now they're
my
high.
next question. How did it feel being the highest role in a server full of 1,000 people?
Uh, Pretty crazy, actually. Um, so I had like my experience back when SimDem had around 400 people and like around maybe 70 active voters. That I think that was the turnout back in the day. And part of the I don't know, part of the fun was like, oh, you suddenly are the head honcho of a server with 400 people. Now it's like 1,000, almost 500. You can ping at everyone and everyone will see it. It was I for one there was a reason why I didn't much use the announcements pings because there was so many people. I genuinely was like, oh, I don't think I should ping if for some stupid shit, especially because as president I like to shit post a lot because I think it's funny. But yeah, it's kind of I don't know what's the word for it. It's kind of scary, honestly,
Yeah,
because if you fuck up perms, fuck, man.
I, I, I wasn't exactly there, but I a bunch of their terms. I was essentially acting president. I had to do a bunch of stuff. I think the I just hated having to do so much stuff. You know, on
Oh
on
yeah.
on top of my duties as vice president, which would be to open up each Senate term and do the speaker election. I did that. I think 3 times. By the way, it was
Yeah,
crazy because I
I
did it.
remember.
I did it twice for when the Senate opened up, and then I had to hold the motion to vacate when Hazy was speaker.
Oh my God, yeah, I remember. I think I remember at one point Pat getting really angry. No, it was under me as I made was VP. I made was inactive, right? And honestly, usually I'd say a president can do nothing and a vice president can do nothing and still be good. But with the amount of people we have and the amount of activity, a good vice president needs to be active now, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And you did a pretty good job. I mean,
Thank.
you were there during the Kashmir operation.
Yeah, where's my fucking medal?
Ask Muggy.
Nah, Muggy hates me. Muggy wants to see me burn.
I asked Muggy to ban me from the server today for funsies. and they didn't. They said it was unfunny. Yeah.
Wow. Well, speaking of evil people, I want to touch upon this last subject. You might know what I'm talking about. Senate Resolution 136 02.
The Mythros
The Senate of r
resolution?
slash sim democracy resolves Mithros is condemned for being evil. Signed, Senator Creative. Tell me your thought process behind that.
Okay, so as I said before, I like shit posting as president. I presidential announcements originally, by the way, people will say this is wrong. They're wrong. They're obviously wrong.
Of
Fact
course.
checked, untrue. Presidential announcements was created for the president to have their own shitpost channel. It's sometimes used for serious things,
Of
almost
course.
always never. So, as senator, I don't know, I wanted to do that. So I started doing stupid Senate resolutions. The first one gave the president the title the stinkiest, and the second one gave it's condemned Mithras because they're evil. And I don't know. It do be like that.
It do be like that. And I ain't opposed to shit posting in official channels. I am the Minister of Communications and Voices of Democracy, and I use that use the official VOD Twitter exclusively for shit posting.
Yeah.
I've shit
Honestly, it's yeah.
I've shit post so much that Sophia has told me to stop fucking shit posting before she takes me out back and shoots me.
It's not that serious. After all, this is like a hobby. Of course, there's certain jobs where you have to put on your serious hat for longer. Like, as president, I was fine if my minister, oh, not ministers. I'm sorry, my secretaries.
Secretaries.
Uh, yeah. Uh, my secretaries like joked every once in a while was fine, but since they're like a lower tier and they don't have the benefits of the presidency, they got to put on their serious hat. Same thing with the judges, like the entire judiciary, full of nerds, only nerds. Yeah, you won't find a single speck of humor in the judiciary because you can, because it's a really important job in SimDem. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. Okay, last question for real. Uh, I was uh, last episode I was supposed to interview IACCP over the whole Iowa scandal. We're calling it Iowa Gate now. But I never got to because
Okay.
bro never returned my fucking calls. So I'm gonna ask you the question: who was in the right, and did IACCP have the right to boycott the Department of Voter Registration?
See, okay, there's two things here. I think Muggy, like doing the EO, was perfectly fine. I've seen EOs calling other states shit. I've seen like act bills try to be passed condemning countries, saying countries are stinky or whatever. So I people can get angry about it, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they ask you, like, hey, Sid, please stop joking about that, well, you gotta stop, right?
Yeah, of
But to
course.
boycott to basically stop the DVR, it's such an essential part of SimDem that it's one of those jobs that I said that you can't really joke with. Like as a judge, you're expected to be serious. And if you're handling elections, which is literally the lifeblood of the server, like a president could be dead. A president could do nothing, the server's fine. The like the DVR is dead, they don't check our suits. We don't have elections because they're essential to the process. And Ever since then, I've heard he was on vacation and whatnot, so I'm reconsidering. I originally voted A to impeach him. Now I'm kind of on the fence, but it's just like, it's not one of those jobs where you can joke about it, I think.
Yeah, of course. Like you said, elections are integral to the core foundation of sim democracy, and to stop those from happening would be akin to treason.
I wouldn't say treason, but it's up there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you
That's a
for
big word.
coming on. Do you have anything you'd like to say to SimDem in general?
Um, Fuck Stalin. That's my last words.
That sounds about right. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. It was great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the SimDem Today podcast. Today, I'd like to give a shout out to our VIP members, 35RTF and Quad Schnitzel. If you want to be part of that shout out list, be sure to subscribe. Not to the YouTube channel, but that's also great. But subscribe in the SimDem Today Discord server. Link in the description. Thank you all for coming, and you all have a great day. This is the host Tripod signing off. Bye bye.